Okay, welcome back to our video series here at our video vault with tackletrading.com, and this is Coach T, Tim Justice here. I'm going to talk a little bit about credit spread management. And what we're going to do today is we're going to compare the difference between manual management, where you go in and you do it yourself, and also the automated management, where you can use a contingency to get you out of a position, and we'll talk a little bit about the different ways that you do that. Credit spreads. Credit spreads are one of the more important strategies to learn, in my opinion, as a mentor and a coach. I think that you have to understand the dynamics, whether you trade them or not. A lot of other people are. And so understanding that side of the market is a very smart thing to do. Let's come in here and let's find a few. I always keep a pretty robust virtual account so I can just go through and practice on stuff as much as I need to. Let's see here. Here's a credit spread, IBM. This is a bull put spread on IBM. Okay, I've sold the 160 put. I've bought the 155 put. It shows me this in the quantity here. Negative 10, positive 10. Okay. Every one of these columns is important. If you're a new trader, you need to learn how to read this information. A very good exercise is to go through it column by column by column by column and make sure you understand exactly what that means. What does mark mean? What does mark change? Now, I've also customized this by adding a few different columns in here, like net liquidation and trade price, which are not there by default in Thinkorswim, just so that you're aware of it. I also have it set up on the vertical folder by grouping the symbols by spreads, and then I put all the check marks on all the different spreads, okay, so that it will automatically go into that folder when I trade it as a vertical. And that's what a bull put spread is a vertical spread. Now, let's start with manual management. What does that mean? Well, the first thing it means is that you have to go in and do it. Basically, when something happens that would prompt your rule to get out of a spread, that you would go in and you would manually get out of it. Okay, that's what I mean, manual management. My friend I'm sitting here with, he told me I need more memory in my computer. It's acting slow. But here we are, IBM. So an example of manual management. Okay. Rule I have for a new trader with a naked or a bull put spread is don't hold it in the money. So one thing that we could do is we could set up an alert at 160 or 162, somewhere in here, that essentially would remind us to come in and get rid of our spread if there's a problem. Okay, this would be manual management. So what I like to do is I like to right click and go down to create alert. I say at or below on the mark, which means the price. You could also use the last to trigger. A lot of different reasons to use one or the other. Mark is the middle of the bid and the ask spread as defined by Thinkorswim. Last is the price that was actually traded last. So you could debate that a little bit. And then I'm going to say 160. Okay. I'm going to create an alert right there. I'm also going to come up here where it says drawings, create a text note, and type in right here, short strike 160, just to remind me on my chart as I'm going through them. Give me a quick visual reminder. Now, this alert will only ring a bell if I'm logged into my system, unless you change a setting. You have to come up here to Setup, Application Settings, Notifications, and then set up your email, so that it will send you an email when the alert is triggered. You can also have it set up an SMS text in your live account, so it will send you a text message if you choose to do that. Manual management. Okay. Well, what are the skill sets needed? You need to be disciplined. Okay. You have to be disciplined enough to actually go in there and do it. If the alert is triggered, you have to go in there and manually get out of that spread. You need to be quick. And when I say quick, I mean within the day, within the trading day. If you know that you work at a job, or if you can only access the markets at night, or you just work a type of job or type of lifestyle where you just can't check it during the day, manual management may not be for you. You have to have access. You have to have Wi-Fi. You have to have a phone or a computer or a tablet that can get you onto Thinkorswim. If you don't, then manual management may not be for you either. You have to have good money management. The whole point of the spread is it has to be well positioned against my portfolio size to begin with. If I don't know how to position size things, like 4% of my account, something like that, 2%, if you don't have those rules defined, that would be something I would sit down with a mentor and talk about. Or maybe attend one of our coaches shows and ask the question, for some guidance on that. You have to follow through with this, basically. Now, the advantages to manual management is that you can go in there and make a decision, okay, on what price to set your order up at. So essentially, if this thing went down and it triggered my spread, I would then come in here into IBM, I would locate it, I would create a closing order, and I would buy it back. When I'm looking at an option spread, one of the most important things to do is to come up here into the chain and look at the bid and the asking price on both the legs I bought and sold, because there can be some subtleties here that can affect whether you get filled, how you get filled, what price you should set up, all of those kind of things. You got to look at the numbers, people. Don't just assume the order came in correctly or rationally. Look at the numbers and make a decision on what the values are. This is a 37-cent limit. This is currently at the midpoint prices. Markets are still open. If I wanted to just go ahead and get rid of that, I would then leave it as a day order if it's during the day, and then send it, confirm and send. Now, am I automatically filled just because I clicked on send? No, I'm not. Okay, no, I'm not. It sends it over to my order form, and it's now waiting to try and get filled. I can organize these columns. I can find IBM here, maybe. There it is. We're trying to get filled at 37. It's going for 36. I'm not going to just sit there and stare at it. I'm going to go about the rest of my work, okay? This is manual management. This is personally how I prefer to do it. I don't like having a lot of automated orders that trigger into contingencies and that kind of thing, because you don't have as much control over the prices you get filled at. The disadvantage is that if you're not disciplined, you can sit and let a trade that you should get out of get worse. And I've seen traders do that, so you have to have the discipline to execute your rules. Now, all of those things are great. Let's do another one real quick. Let's say we take an iron Condor instead, okay? And here's one Celgene. Let's go through these columns, okay? Celgene shows me the instrument. July, 9,500, 130, 135. These are my strike prices. This is the quantity of contracts I played on each leg. This is how many days are left, what I traded them for. Now, I added that in. Remember, that's not defaulted in there. What the mark price is, so I can compare the differences. All right. What the mark changes. This is what it has moved or changed today. Delta, gamma, theta, vega for every individual leg. Also, the white line up here is the total for the spread. That's a more important number. Net liquidation. This is an important characteristic. This is an important thing to know. This represents how much money is left in all of these. It's the remaining value per contract multiplied by how many contracts you have. So when my net liquidation says 200, I know for my iron Condor, I can only make another 200. Okay, that's what that means. I also know that my puts have only $80 left, but my calls have 120 left. My PL open is 510. So I've made 510, and I have 200 left to go before I hit maximum profit. This is where traders might decide to get out early. I think one mistake new traders make is they assume that they're going to put a trade on and just wait until expiration. That's not what traders do most often. Many, many times they will manage the position as they develop it, as it goes. I think there's still enough money here to stay for a little bit longer, but just think about this hypothetically. What if that was only $50? And we had made $650. Are we going to wait another 29 days, or would we lock in the profit, right? See where we're going with that. 5,000 buying power effect that's being held up. Let's go do our manual management. 130, 100. Now, that was Celgene. All right, 130 is here. So at minimum, very minimum, I need to do an alert. Right click I should do, where it says at or above 130. Boom. And create another alert at or below 100. Now, some traders will add nuances to those rules. They'll say, well, I don't want to wait till it gets to the strike. I'm going to do one ATR or one half ATR from the strike I sold. I'm fine with that. We're going to keep it simple for the purposes of this video. You don't have to do it at the strike, but there has to be something there. All right, if you want to put it at 120 and trade it really tight, that's okay. That's your choice as a trader. You can have a different management plan than what I've put up here on the screen. The point is, if you're going to do manual management, you may want to take advantage of the alert system, tied in through the notifications in Thinkorswim, so that if you're away from your computer, it will remind you to go back and get logged in and do something about it if there's a problem. Another thing about manual management, especially with iron condors, see, if I said create a closing order to buy back the iron condor and I used a market price, that's not good, okay? First of all, and that's what happens if you put a stop loss on an iron condor, by the way. What that would essentially do is it would tell the broker, okay, broker, the 95 put, just get me whatever price you can. The 100 put, I'll pay whatever the market price is. Okay, the 130, just whatever the number is. The 135, whatever the number is. You're not negotiating on any of the prices, so you're going to get a bad fill. Okay, and this one, it wouldn't be that bad. It'd only be about $10 per contract difference. But from a trader who was just sitting there trying to debate over $50, $100, you know, those percentage points that do matter to your bottom line, 10 cents on 10 contracts is $100. You know, so we'd be giving up $100 of negotiating at all. That doesn't make sense. Market orders, when you trigger to market orders, you got to be very, very cautious with that. Now, with this, you know, if I am going to do it, if I'm going to get out of either side, what I personally do is I do them individually, okay? Side by side, I should say, with iron condors, where I'll take the bear call and buy that one back, and the bull put and do that one separately, okay? You don't have to do all four legs at the same time. Traditionally with iron condors, what you end up doing is you put the trade on with 4 legs and you end up taking the trade off with 2 legs or even 1 leg at a time, many times. You know, it's not common you'll actually get out of all 4 at the same time. Right? All right, let's do a contingent, because that's actually why I was going to start this video. If you're going to do contingencies, and if you're going to tell the broker to get you out if this happens, if there's a problem. Let's take another iron condor, and let's take, the rut looks like it's down. That would be one we'd need to manage. Let's take one that's pretty break even, so it's kind of like it's if we were just putting it on. Here's Monsanto. Monsanto has earnings coming up here on the 30th, so that's coming up soon. Something we'd have to pay attention to. But let's go to the chart on MON. So we have the 130 way up here. Need the pointer here. We have the 130 up here, and we have the 110 down here. So let's set up a contingency on the low side. Okay, so the 110 put, this is what we're going to protect. All right. So instead of doing the alert where you have to manually go in, some traders would say, well, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell the broker that if it ever goes down there, just get me out. I'm going to show you how to do that right now. What we do is we create the closing order. We buy the vertical back. You do it on market, good till canceled. Then you have to locate this little button over here on the right. It's a plus sign. Okay, you click on it, and this is where you'll get your order rules. Coach Gino has done some videos on different contingencies that you can set up, and there's some different things in here that you can use. We're going to keep for the purposes of this video, just really simple. We're going to say when it's at or below 100, then get me out. That's it. Okay, that's it. Now, at or below 100, get me out. Personally, what I would also do is I would estimate some math, and I would have a limit instead of a market, even if I was using a contingent. So what I would do is I'd go to the Analyze tab. If I use contingencies, this is how I do it. I go to the Analyze tab. I make sure I'm only measuring my put options, because that's what we're going to get out of. I type in 100. It shows me what I'd be losing if it goes down. Oh, not 100. We need 110. Excuse me. 110. We'll have to go change that order rule. I'd be losing $1,200, okay, at 110. That means 120 per contract. So now essentially what I need to do is figure out what did I pay. My trade price was 55 cents. If I entered at 55 and I lose 120, it's 175 on the limit. So in my order form, if I'm going to use a limit with the contingency, I now have to set this number up because it won't be worth 84 when your contingency is triggered. I can change this to 110. Okay. What it will be worth is 55 plus 120, about 175. But there's no way to know that for sure. Even though I don't want to get filled at 2, I would probably put in like 190 or 2. This makes me sleep easier. Why? Why is this a big deal? Because I've lived through flash crashes, people. I've seen stocks go crazy in the first 5 minutes of trading, and option liquidity is not the same as stock liquidity. You know, at the beginning of the day, if you're getting triggered on a big gap down, the option market may be illiquid, you trigger to a market price. What if you pay $3 or $4 for a spread that 15 minutes later settles in at $2? You'd feel like a fool, okay? Markets give you no control. I have no problem with contingencies, but if you're going to use them, I suggest that you learn to use the risk graph and learn to do some of this math. Let's do another one. Let's do the other side of this one. So that was at 110. So what if we take 130 now? Okay. We go to the Analyze tab. Now we have to uncheck our puts and measure our calls. We pop in 130 in the window here. It shows that we would lose $1,100. I'm just rounding those numbers. I do a lot of rounding, okay? For a guy that does as much math as I do, I round off a lot of stuff just because there's no reason to get all worked up about the 0.73, all right? Just $1,100 because it's an estimate anyway. I mean, why am I going to get worked up about that 5.99 right there? Not. Okay, $1,100. Make my math simple. $1,100 on 10 contracts. See, the big thing you're trying to get to is you need to know your per contract rate. Okay, so things you need to do, you need to calculate. You need to know your entry price. You need to know your per contract risk. And then that will help you establish your limit exit. Essentially, those are the 3 steps we're going through. Now, per contract risk. The per contract risk here is 110. This number here, 1,100 divided by 10 in the spread is 110. Everybody should follow that. If not, pull out a calculator so you can keep up. Okay, $110. Now my per contract, that's my per contract risk. My trade price was 32. Okay, 32 cents. So my entry price, come back over here. My entry price was 0.32, I believe. Let's confirm that. Like my dad always said, measure twice, cut once. He was a carpenter. 32 cents. All right, good. For some reason, I wanted to sing an old folk song from the 60s right there. Jesus was a carpenter. He wore something like leather shoes. I'd have to look it up. I am not a singer. I'm not a lounge act, but I can play one at 1:45, 15 minutes before the bell. Per contract risk. Now, we established that was 110. So that means we add those two numbers together. My limit exit needs to be at minimum 1.42. What I generally tend to do is I add about 10 or 15 cents to that. Why? Because there's a window on the spread. Okay? Depending on how big my option spread is between bid and ask for these stocks. So this is 9 cents and 5 cents, so about 14 cents I would add to that. I would add the spread distance. So from 142, add the spread distance. I'm going to make mine, let's make it 155. I like nickels, okay? I like putting things on a nickel instead of penny increments. I tend to put things on nickel increments. All right, so then what we do now is we come back to monitor, create the close to buy them back. We make this a limit. We said 1.55. Good till canceled. Have it trigger when it is at or above 130. Okay? That was my strike. Could we choose a different number? Yes, we could. We're just keeping it simple as I can. I'm at enough complex stuff. Why not? I don't want to add more than I need to. All right, then we'd send that off. Okay, now what you're looking at now, you'll see when on your chart what it does, it will come in at the current price. It should self-adjust up here to about 130 in just a minute. All right, let's show you one more order just to get you understanding like how you can add a lot to these things. Let's take a vertical and let's take another credit spread. This one is save. This one is a bear call spread. There are only 5 contracts. Okay, let's say that we want to do an automated exit and we want to sell it at 70. Well, we got to go to analyze. Well, again, we could always just get our per contract entry right now. 60 cents is what we got in at. On the analyze, save, we put in 70 to find our per contract risk, be 30 cents or 60 cents a piece because we only have 5. Okay, see the quantity matters. So I take 300 divided by 5, that's 60 cents. Okay, I rounded that down. So if I entered at 60 and I'm risking 60, then my buy limit needs to be about 120. Add the distance in the spread. There's about 10 cents on this one. And these ones are about 10-cent spreads. I might add 20 cents. So I'm going to put my limit at 140. Okay, right click, create a close. Buy that limit back for 140. Now remember, if you don't add the contingency, it would just get you out right away. So you need to make sure that you add that in there. At or above, $70 was my exit point I identified. Click OK. Now I'm going to add one layer here. If you want to set your target order at the same time, you have this say OCO down here. You create a duplicate order and you put a target in. Let's say that we want to get out when it's worth a nickel. By having an OCO bracket, what this is essentially doing is it's telling them, if the call goes in the money, get me out. Here's my limit offset, contingent at $70. But if it goes down and it's only worth a nickel, take my profit. And if you take my profit, cancel with an one cancels other order the other one. It's an automated way to do it. All kinds of power in Thinkorswim if you learn how to use it, guys. Order management, order execution. I know if you're a new trader, that was probably quick. But for those of you trading credit spreads that want to learn how to do some of that stuff, it's really important that you understand some of the subtleties, okay? This has been Coach T from TackleTrading.com, Credit Spread Management. Get in the game, guys. Get over to TackleTrading.com and catch our coaches shows. Every Tuesday, 7 p.m. East for pro members. The Forex report, the commodity report, the options report, those are things we put out every week for pro members as well. We also have a really robust clubhouse where people are chatting and talking about what they're doing in the markets and that kind of thing. We have a great monthly show called the Cash Flow Club, which comes out the 3rd Thursday of the month, just before the expiration. And we do that for rookie and pro members. So it's time to get in the game, and then make sure you read our newsletters. Coaches put a lot of time and work into those, give you insight, context, mindset type stuff on how to think about the market, how to approach the market, how to approach different strategies. And as always, we do take requests. So pop in the clubhouse and post your requests if you have anything. All right, guys, get in the game.
Get off the sidelines and take control of your financial future at www.tackletrading.com. Get in the game.